Peace everyone, Dstrukt here, reporting to you live from my kitchen in Brooklyn, New York. And today I'm not going to show you guys how to make some coffee, unfortunately, or heat up some food in the conventional oven. But instead, I'm going to show you guys how to do a picture-in-picture video edit. Yes, a picture-in-picture video edit. So for those of you that don't know what a picture-in-picture edit is, it's when you take one image, an altered image, either cropped or resized, and you place that on top of another image, your base image, creating a picture-in-picture. It kind of looks like this. Boom. Like this. Boom. Or like this.
Whee! Another amazing view.
Yep, it's a super common video edit that you've probably seen once or twice on your socials. So today I'm going to show you guys how to do this picture-in-picture edit inside of a video program that you don't know you have inside of your applications folder if you have a Mac. And I'm pretty sure I just gave it away. It's 1, 2, 3. iMovie. Yep, I'm gonna show you guys how to do this in iMovie. I wanna prove that you can still make quality content on a basic video editing software. It all depends on the content you're working with. In this case, we have a screen recording, an overhead shot, and some clean audio. So technically only 2 angles. I normally work in Final Cut Pro because I need more flexibility in my video editing, but for the edits that we're doing today, which is super basic, overlaying, cropping, and resizing, we could get this all done on iMovie. Yes, indeed. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this picture-in-picture edit inside of iMovie. Let's go. All right, cool, let's get this thing started. So the first thing you're gonna see when you open iMovie is your project browser. I don't have any projects right now, that's why it's empty. So let's go ahead and create a new one. Right here, you're presented with 2 options, movie and trailer. Let's go ahead and create a movie. So now we have our project layout. Over here, we have our content browser, our content viewer, and our project timeline. Our final project will be based on the contents that we drag down here to this project timeline. First things first, let's import some media. All right, let's click import media and let's get some content into our project. Over here, I have a folder called iMovie contents that I made for the tutorial. I have a screen capture, an overhead shot, and some clean audio. Let's select these files by holding Shift up and click import selected down here. All right, nice. Now we have all of our contents inside of our content browser. For the play function, hit the spacebar on your keyboard.
That's right. That's right.
We have our clean audio. It's kind of peaking there. And we have the overhead shot. So before dragging down our contents down to our project timeline down here, let's talk about project settings. Our project settings are based on the first clip that you drag to your project timeline. So if I want this to export at 4K, my first clip inside the timeline has to be at 4K. I know for a fact that this screen capture right here was recorded at 4K using QuickTime, but for this overhead, it was shot at 2.7K. So unfortunately, iMovie identifies 2.7K clips as 1080 and not 2.7K, meaning it would set the session to 1080. I want this to be at 4K, so let's take this and drag this down like so. If we go to settings, we'll see that it's at 4K right there. All right, so before I drag and drop my other contents, which is my clean audio and my overhead, I have a basic idea of what I want to crop out of the screen capture. I want to crop out everything at the bottom, which is just the whole Serato DJ library right here. So when we overlay it on top of the overhead, you'll be able to see it as a picture-in-picture. So when it comes to cropping in iMovie, there's actually 2 different modes, both located in different places. One's in the content browser and the other one's in the project timeline. I'll get to that one later. Right now, we're gonna stick to the one in the content browser. Let's select this screen recording and start cropping. So over here right away, you're presented with some tools to the right. Over here we have color balance, color correction, cropping, stabilization, audio, noise reduction. The speedometer will adjust the speed of your clip. So if you want to do slow-mo, and filter. So I know for sure that I want to crop. Let's go ahead and hit crop and hit this little crop button right here. And right away we're presented with some brackets. So anything outside these brackets will be cropped out. So let's go ahead and take this and drag it up. And I want to get it right up there. All right, perfect. That looks good right there. Nice. So everything outside this dotted line is going to be cropped out of the image. All right, so let's verify this crop by hitting this first blue check mark and now hitting the second one to apply the actual adjustments to the screen recording. Nice. So now what I want to do is replace this full screen version in the project timeline with the updated crop version that we just worked on and take the other one out. Zoom in by hitting Command and plus or Command and minus to zoom out. Alright, now we can proceed to dragging and dropping the remainder of the contents. Let's go ahead and take this overhead angle and the clean audio. The clean audio has its own audio lane right here. And the reason why I'm putting it in there, I have the option to put it here too, but if you move your movie clip, your audio will go with it. And I actually don't want that. I actually want to keep that in its own lane. So when I do move it, it stays in place. So let's take this screen recording and switch places with the overhead so that the overhead is on the bottom and the screen recording is at the top. Take this and put it on top. Sick. There you go. So now you can see the cropped image on top of the overhead angle. So now that we have all of our content inside of our project timeline, let's make some adjustments to each of these clips. Let's start with the screen capture. So over here on the screen capture, it looks like I have a couple takes. This clip is longer than the other two clips. I know for sure that this take right here was a good one. So let's go ahead and trim this by selecting the edge of the clip by clicking, holding, and dragging it to the right. Let's go ahead and select this clip and move it over to the left. Let's do the same thing for the right side too by clicking, holding, and let's drag that to the left. And let's click and drag this edge furthest to the left. Perfect. All right, so zoom in, Command plus. Everything's layered. The next thing we're gonna do is sync the clips. Make sure everything is in time. So since iMovie doesn't offer any automatic syncing, we're gonna have to do this manually. It shouldn't be too hard since we're only working with 3 clips. So this is where your DJ ears come into play. We wanna make sure everything is locked in and in time. So if I play it right now, it's gonna be offbeat.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Totally off. Now let's start the syncing process. Let's get a little closer by zooming in just a little bit more. So the key is look at the audio transients and match those up properly. I'll use the beginning of this waveform as a reference. So let's do that. We could actually trim the audio too. And we could actually bring that back right there. Do that with the screen recording as well. I'm gonna zoom in some more just to get more precise. That looks pretty good. All right, so before moving forward, I wanna create some more real estate on my screen. I wanna get rid of this content browser window by hitting this little button right here. Boom, more space. Nice, I like it. So let's go ahead and press play.
Ain't none of y'all better than me. That's right. That's right.
Cool, so that's definitely
That's
on
right.
beat. That's right. If it was offbeat, it would sound like this.
Ain't none of y'all better than me. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Totally off. Let's hit Command Z and fix that.
None of y'all better than me.
Nice. So now that we know everything's in sync, let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. It looks like the overhead is overextending just a little bit. So let's trim off the ends by clicking and dragging the edge to the left. Same thing over here. Make sure everything's nice and even. That's the end of the routine. Let's just drag it down to the waveform. We can make some adjustments later. There you go. Nice. Now let's make some edits to our screen capture and make it fit the way we want it, directly overlaid on the overhead angle. So take note that each of these clips in the project timelines have their own specific settings. Right now I'm gonna make some adjustments to the screen recording, so I'll be sure to select that on the project timeline. Let's go to the settings up here. Over here we have some overlay settings. Let's go ahead and click on that. We have a couple options here. Let's hit this drop down. And we're gonna do picture in picture. This is exactly what we're doing, a picture in picture edit. So let's click on this. All right, so with this picture in picture feature, it will allow us to move our image around anywhere in the frame and resize it as well. You can put it anywhere, lower thirds, anywhere you want. For this tutorial, we're gonna move it towards the middle and top. This is pretty cool because it actually snaps in the middle. Cool, make it a little bit bigger. And that looks good to me.
That's right.
Maybe a little bit higher. Let's go higher. Boom.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Nice. That looks good. And over here you have some other options. These are your transition options. You have dissolve, zoom, and swap. So if you go to the beginning of your clip, it should just kind of fade in.
Ain't none of y'all better.
Let's go to zoom. Not sure how this will look.
Ain't none.
And swap. I'm guessing it's gonna swap these two screens. Yep, it did. Yep, definitely don't want that. I kind of just want it to be there on top. So go back to dissolve and just bring that to 0. And that should just stay.
Ain't none of y'all better than me.
Alright, cool, so we're getting there. I'm digging away how the screen capture is positioned towards the top portion of the frame, but there is actually one thing that's kind of bothering me, and it's its overhead angle and how it's not dead center in the middle. We gotta fix that. So let's move forward with that edit by selecting the overhead angle on the project timeline and clicking on the crop tool over here at the top. This was the second crop mode I was telling you about. The difference between the two is this one actually crops in and you cannot crop out. So once you grab one of these brackets and bring them in and press the blue check mark, your image will appear zoomed in. So that's one thing to note about the two different modes. If you want to crop out, use the crop mode in the content browser. And if you want to crop in to make something bigger, go ahead and use the one in the project timeline. All right, I'm digging this. I like the way the screen capture is positioned on the overhead. I like the way the overhead is dead center in the middle, but I want to add some more sauce on it. So let's go ahead and do some basic color correction. Over here, we have a color correction tool. We're presented with a couple different options. So over here on the left portion, it looks like you have a little magic wand. It looks like that will do some automatic settings for you. I'm a manual dude, so I prefer to dial in the settings myself. Over here, right next to the magic wand, we have our exposure settings. We have our shadows, contrast, our mids, and our highs. Over here, we have saturation. So if we want it to pop a little bit more, bring it to the right. Or if we want to make it a little bit more dull, just move it to the left. And to the right of that, we have our temperature control. Move it to the left, it will make the image more cool. To the right, it will get it a little bit more warm. So let's go ahead and do some adjustments. I'm just gonna eye this. So let's bring down our shadows a little bit. Contrast to the left as well. That's good right there. Let's adjust the mids there. Saturation, let's make it pop a little bit more. Temperature, I'm kind of happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that right there. Nice. That looks pretty freaking good. Turn that down just a little bit. Nice. Let's look at this.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's right. Exactly. That looks pretty good. So in addition to color correction, iMovie actually offers some filters. I don't use these because they're a little too bold, but let's dive into them anyway so you guys can check it out. All right, so we have flip. Whoa, that actually just changed my whole perspective on life. Let's not do that. Black and white, silent era, Western, vintage. Whoa, that's very thrift store / Urban Outfitters. Blockbuster. Blockbuster is not too bad. Yeah, these are all a little too intense for my taste. Actually, Vignette didn't look bad. There's a little too much. Yeah, these are all the filters. So if you wanted one, you can click on one. Let's go ahead and click on Blockbuster, and it will just apply it straight to the clip that you have selected. Oh, we're not gonna do that. Let's hit Command Z and get out of that. All right, so we're almost done. The next thing we're gonna do is do some audio adjustments. I don't wanna take any of the audio from the screen capture or the overhead angle. I just want the clean. So let's go ahead and select our angle right here. We have two options. We could either drag and drop the volume right here on the actual clip, Or you could actually go here and hit the speaker and bring it down like so. This is muted. This is muted as well. So now when I play,
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
I only get the clean audio, which is perfect. I'm kind of peaking over here, so I want to turn it down just a little bit, just a tad. There you go.
That's right. That's right. No. Fade up.
All right, cool, I'm digging this. The audio levels are at a good place, the overhead is dead center, and our screen capture is exactly where we want it. Actually, you know, let me do a little bit more adjusting here. I just want to bring it up just a little bit more, right there. Perfect, nice. Now it's exactly where I want it. Don't forget to hit this blue check mark. I want to make some slight adjustments to our screen capture and our overhead. Let's just trim a little bit of those ends off. So when it does end, it just ends on a black screen, but the audio will keep playing. Nice. Perfect. All right, I'm digging the way all this looks. Let's go ahead and export this puppy. Let's go to the export options on the top right. We're presented with a couple export options. We have export to email, YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, image. Definitely don't want an image because that's just gonna take whatever image the playhead is on and export that, which we do not want. We want the file in its entirety, so let's click File. And now we can rename it. Let's rename it to Oh Yeah. We can add some tags. Dstrukt, scratch, emoji, Serato. Format, video and audio, or audio only. Let's do video and audio. Resolution, 4K, definitely, because I'm probably gonna upload this to YouTube as well. Quality, low, medium, high, and ProRes. ProRes will increase that to 4.47 gigs. I wouldn't recommend exporting ProRes unless you're making a feature film. Plus, it doesn't really make any sense since Instagram is already compressing your videos as is. But let's keep that at high. And compression, let's go ahead and do better quality instead of faster. It's only a minute, so it shouldn't take that long to export. Next thing we want to do is hit next. Select a destination. I'm going to choose my desktop. Now let's press save. Nice, and now we're exporting. Up here you could actually see the status of our export, and it looks like we have 1 minute. Boom, there it is. Our picture-in-picture edit is about to be ready to hit the interwebs very, very soon. So real quick, we just did that in iMovie, and Apple's not paying me to say this, but iMovie is only 15 bucks, a one-time fee. If you're trying to do some basic editing, basic color correction, iMovie is gonna be the move for you, especially if you don't wanna break the bank. So let's go ahead and do a little recap of what we just did. First thing, we opened iMovie, then we created a project. We went ahead and dragged and dropped all of our content into our content browser, which was our screen recording, our overhead angle, and our clean audio. So before dragging and dropping our contents down to our project timeline, we went to our screen capture and we cropped out areas of the screen that we wanted included in the overall shot. In this case, we just wanted the decks and the waveforms. So in order to do that, we cropped out the library, which is from the bottom, and cropped out everything from the bottom to the middle of the screen. So right after cropping our screen capture, we took the overhead angle, dragged that down to the project timeline, took the audio, put that in its own audio lane, and finally took the screen capture and put that directly on top of the overhead angle to create a picture-in-picture effect. Then we had to make sure everything was synced up correctly. So what we did was took the audio transients from each of the angles and lined them up just to make sure everything fell in time. And from there, we took the screen capture and did some placement adjustments on the overhead angle. In this case, we moved it up towards the upper middle part of the frame. Then we centered up our shot by utilizing the second crop tool in the project timeline. From there, we made some final touches by adjusting the color correction, saturation, contrast, the exposures, mids, highs, and shadows. Exposure-wise, we're trying to get to a good place where it looked balanced. And saturation-wise, we're trying to get the colors to pop the way we wanted it to. And lastly, we muted the live audio from both the screen recording and the overhead to isolate the clean audio.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And from there, we labeled and exported everything at 4K. Alright y'all, I hope you all enjoyed that picture-in-picture walkthrough edit with your boy using iMovie. Nothing more, nothing less. Once again, my name is Dstrukt, representing Serato, Brooklyn, and I am signing off. Peace.